Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, retired librarian turned homeschool mom, and in this video we're going to tackle this film. So this is The Witches. Now this is the film adaptation of this. This is Roald Dahl's the book, The Witches. Roald Dahl himself did not like this, probably because there's a happy ending. So this is a very, very good film. It was, in looking at the Wikipedia page, it was produced by Jim Henson's Foundation. If you're not aware of who I'm talking about, Muppets. Basically, the Muppets. This is Jim Henson who created the Muppets. He was next to Industrial Light and Magic, which was Lucas's special effects arm. This was the other major special effects arm. They did a lot of puppetry and special effects. So they would have done quite a bit of the, particularly the mice puppetry in this film. So, this is actually the people who produced this. So it was produced by Jim Henson, for Lumiere Film Entertainment, which was this is the last film they did before they merged with Warner Brothers. So this is a Warner Brothers property. So, this is a very interesting film. It stars Anjelica Huston, who's very, very good, obviously. It's Anjelica Huston. She's a fantastic actress. She does not resemble the Grand High Witch of the book whatsoever, because she is very, very tall and very, very good looking. The Grand High Witch in the book is very, very short and extremely ugly. So, and the other major difference, well, there's a wide variety of differences. We'll go into that. Let's go into the film itself. So, of course, of this film, you have a young boy by the name of Luke. His parents have died in a car accident. He's an American. He's living with his grandmother in England. She gets sick. Now, she tells him stories. She's a sweet little old lady who's telling him stories about witches and how she, as a child, one of her friends was essentially cursed to live out her days in a painting where she slowly grew old and disappeared. And she tells her grandson the dangers of these demons in basically the form of women. And she tells him how to stay away from them and what to see, and how they have this glint of purple in their eye and no toes, and are bald. So Grandma gets sick. They're sent to, it's like, go vacation on the seaside. So they go. And Luke runs into a nasty little boy by the name of, what on earth is his name? I just said it because I just reviewed the book. Let's see if I can see the name of the book. Bruno. So he's a spoiled little rich. He's a spoiled little rich boy. And Luke is training his mice to walk tight ropes. And then one day he comes upon a meeting for the prevention of cruelty to children, and he ends up hiding in the room, and because he's wandering around this hotel, and it turns out it's the witches, and you have the Grand High Witch, played marvelously by Anjelica Huston, and her female assistant, who I believe, let's see if she has a name here, let's see, well, whoever she is, cannot find the name here, but again, she has this short, very pretty little blonde assistant, and they have this huge meeting where the other witches take off everything and look hideous, and they reveal this potion where they basically had coaxed Bruno with candy and things to come in. They grab him, they poison him, and he turns into a mouse. Luke finds them, they chase him, somehow aren't able to catch him very easily, eventually drag him kicking and screaming into the room. Yeah, nobody quite understands how on earth nobody stopped them. And they turn him into a mouse as well, because they had this Formula 87. Basically, it turns children into mice. And because they think children smell. They're very, very anti-children with these witches. That is the same with the book. Luke is able to get back to his grandmother, can show him, it's like, yes, this is me, I'm a mouse. She's like, what the heck happened to you? The Grand High Witch is here. Now, it's very much implied that his grandmothers had run-ins with the Grand High Witch before. So they are enemies. So his grandmother with him coke up this plan to get bottle of this potion to essentially dump into the soup for these witches and turn them into mice. You also have the hotel manager, who's played by Rowan Atkinson. If you're not familiar with him, you might be familiar with the character he plays, which is Mr. Bean. So he plays the hotel manager in this. And there's a little bit more going on. It seems like he's making out with one of the waitresses. You see him periodically being yelled at by Bruno's father. It's very kind of interesting. And eventually Luke is able to drop this formula into the pea soup. They're feeling the witches, and you have this whole scene where they're turning into mice. And of course everybody's screaming and killing off the rats, and they're whacking them, and they're turning into smoke. And somehow people think this is normal. You whack a mouse, or kill a mouse with a broom, and all of a sudden green starts spraying out of their mouths, or these women are eating something and green smoke is coming out. Yeah, that makes no sense. But oh my god, they kill all the mice, with the exception, I think, the Grand High Witch's assistant, who isn't there. She pretty much, the Grand High Witch doesn't allow her to come with her to dinner that night. So it's like, you stay in the room. And somehow she turns good. So they give Bruno back to his parents. They go home. You see this whole elaborate thing where Luke has places to move around. And then all of a sudden you see this witch assistant show up, and she changes him back, and you kind of see naked little boy. And essentially he's turned back into human. She turns him, gives him his mice back. And I believe it's implied that she's obviously going to turn Bruno back into a person and a little boy. And him and his grandmother are planning to go and essentially attack the witches in Norway. So, differences, why this film is absolutely utterly fabulous, and I love this probably more than I like that book. Major difference, and one of the reasons Roald Dahl hates this, is at the very end of the book, nothing happens. The little boy stays a mouse and is happy about it because he's not going to outlive his grandmother. I like the film's ending better, because it's a bit of a happier ending. Again, he turns into a human and isn't happy he's going to die in like 2 or 3 years. So Grandma is a completely different character. The grandmother of the book is an older lady who smokes cigars, black cigars, and is very, very creepy, and encourages her grandson to take up smoking, as opposed to this sweet little lady who actually loves and cherishes her grandson, is not interested and doesn't smoke. Is smoking foul black cigars. So, and encouraging her grandson to take up smoking. The Grand High Witch is completely different. I mean, Anjelica Huston is gorgeous and tall. Yeah, that's the other big thing. Again, the Grand High Witch in the books is short and ugly. They also do some effects with the irises. That's more visible with the witches. In the book, that's barely noticeable. I don't know if they show the feet in this. It's been a while since I watched the film. I just borrowed it. And I'm reviewing it off memory because I know it decently well. There is no assistant in the book at all. She doesn't exist, little pretty little thing. The book is far more darker, far darker, because Roald Dahl is that way. This is more of a dark comedy. There's a lot of things that are played for laughs in this. Obviously, you have Rowan Atkinson, who's in this, and he's a comedian. That's what he does. He does physical comedy. So he does a little bit of that in this. It's far more lighthearted than the book. The main character has a name. Yeah, the book, he's just called the boy. He has no name whatsoever. And he doesn't really have a plain personality at all. The mice are correct. He's teaching his mice to basically walk across a string and trying to think of a mouse circus. That's true. The witches easily capture him in the book as well. You're not running through a beachside town. Nor do I believe there's a whole bunch of green smoke involved when the witches are turned into mice. So And then the Rowan Atkinson character doesn't exist. The woman he's having sex with doesn't really exist either. The grandmother has no relationship with the Grand High Witch in the books. But again, I like the film better. I mean, it's one of those things where I enjoy the film better than the book. Possibly because I'm not a huge fan of Roald Dahl. But he's in children's sections like crazy, and he seems to be beloved for his horror. So I'm also not a horror fan. But the film is fun. It's definitely a family-friendly film. I love Anjelica Huston. I will hopefully one of these days cover The Addams Family and The Addams Family Values, which are two favorite films of mine. I'm also a big fan of Christina Ricci, so I will cover several of her films on this channel just because it's very, very nostalgia. I have already covered one, which is The Man Who, I believe A Man Who Cried. That's more of an adult teen film, and a bit darker. So that is really the end of this review. Very, very good film. I may look at the modern one. I'll think about it. I have to see if I can get a hold of it somewhere. So this is a family film. This is a little darker, but definitely a family Halloween film. The book is really, really dark. Yes, I've already covered that. It's very, very dark. So if you like what you see, be sure to check out the rest of the channel. I've covered some more Roald Dahl because I'm crazy, but he's popular, and they have a tendency to make his books into films. So they're kind of a good, they're kind of a good thing to look at the contrast. So I've done a couple of him. I may do more. This is actually the last one that I know very well. So be sure to check out the rest of the channel. Besides Roald Dahl, I do a lot of picture books. I do various other educational books. We do a little bit of family travel stuff. I do, and we'll probably start adding more secular homeschooling stuff. Right now, as of this filming, my daughter is 2. As of the time you guys see it, she'll be 3. So we'll be adding that as well. So there's a lot of stuff available. So please be sure to like and subscribe and check out what I've got. Thank you.